Now we are going to open this debate on this special panel about from COP25 to European Green Deal. And we have the pleasure to have, first of all, with us, the Commissioner Virginijus Sinkevičius, very, very welcome in our premises, and many other guests. I hope they are coming also to the podium, but we start because we are already a little late and we need absolutely to start. So, dear Commissioner Sinkevičius, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased that the first plenary session of the EESC in 2020 hosts a debate on climate change on the European Green Deal. These are matters of critical importance for my presidency and for the whole EESC and for the European citizens. We all know that are a very critical time. It is clear that, unfortunately, the world is not on the good track to achieve the objective of the Paris Agreement on climate change and SDG targets. This can have devastating implications for all of us. As EESC, we are firmly convinced that the implementation of the 2030 Agenda must be the top priority for the EU for the next decade. Europe must be the front runner, the global leader on climate. I attended the COP25 in Madrid together with the broader EESC delegation. Unfortunately, I can stay only one day, but the delegation was capable to stay a big part of the week and was led by our president of the Observatory of the Sustainable Development, Peter Schmidt, is also coming here to the podium. And I want to praise first the Spanish government for showing exemplary leadership in taking the role of the COP25 host after the withdrawal of the Chile government. Organizing such an international summit in only 4 weeks, it was an impressive, really an impressive event, and everything from the point of view of the preparation organization went very well. Unfortunately, not all the countries present in Madrid showed the same political will to step up their climate efforts, which led at the end to a very, very few outcome of the COP25. A sign of hope and possibly a real game changer during this week in Madrid was the decision and the presentation by the President of the newly entered Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, of the communication on the Green Deal, and for the very first time, the Parliament decided to have an extraordinary session just to listen to the presentation of this. And this deal with a strong commitment on climate neutrality by 2050, and on this the Commission showed a clear leadership promoting ambitious climate and environmental policy inside the EU and across the world. I very much welcome the fact that the new Commission has adopted as first political initiative this communication. So has set clearly the agenda. And I welcome the new narrative of the Commission, which proposed a new growth strategy, and I quote, a growth that gives more back than it takes away. And as often say, delivering on the SDG is the way forward because it is a win-win agenda for everyone, employer, enterprise, trade union, workers, citizens, any part of our society, and for sure for our planet, for our present and our future. They are happy to see that a stronger consensus is building up now on this everywhere in our society. The increased climate ambition announced by the Green Deal is what the citizens expect from their leaders. The strong commitment on climate neutrality by 2050 opens a positive perspective for the EU contribution for the COP26 in Glasgow. Yet, let's be clear, the transition to a sustainable, carbon-neutral and resource-efficient economy requires fundamental changes in our society, in our economy. This will be not easy. The EU has to deliver at 2 levels. It has to implement the 2030 Agenda itself, but it also has to promote it in the world. And I am more than sure, as we repeated in many of our opinions, that the trade agreement that the EU are signing with third countries are a powerful tool, because by now they all contain a specific chapter on sustainable development. And so this commitment by all means continue and can enforce also this global strategy. But now let us come to the speaker of this panel, all high level, who I warmly thank for being with us today. First, the Commissioner Virginijus Sinkevičius. We met the first time in a very nice summit in Krynica, south of Poland. You were at this time Minister of Economy of your country, but there was still some rumor that you could have been the candidate. So we had this opportunity to exchange, at least in this interesting panel of reflection. And when you were confirmed as a candidate, and after you were confirmed by the hearings and became, I was more than happy to have a young and very engaged commissioner coming from the Baltic countries for this very important dossier. And you are responsible in the Commission on policies such as environment and ocean, which are absolutely central in the strategy of the European Green Deal. I am more than sure that you will elaborate on the ambition and vision of the Commission on the basis of the proposal of December. Close to you, Mr. Ovais Sarmad, Deputy Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. I will not quote the acronym because it's even more complicated, who has been the leader of the task force of steering the work of COP25 in Madrid, and is already preparing the COP26 in Glasgow. And Mr. Sarmad now is the Deputy Executive Secretary, but he came from a very, very long career, 27 years in the OEM. So it has dealt with one of the major consequences of climate change. It is also refugees and migration. Professor Enrico Giovannini, my left, very well known, Italian as I am. I will not go through his very long curricula from Minister, the OCSE, United Nations, ISTAT, so many, but now is without any doubt a major actor and expert in the field of sustainability, notably through this coalition of all forces for employer, unions, civil society, local authority, big business, multinational, that is called ASviS, a coalition of more than 170 organizations that are trying to push the Italian government and the Italian society to engage in this change. And I will leave to him to say something more, but he's a real mover and shaker of the agenda worldwide. And last but not least, Mrs. Cherif Semia, a Tunisian expert, an actor, a key actor on climate change, and she has led the first Mediterranean expert on climate and environmental assessment report that was presented, a work of more than 600 experts and scientists, so very big, was presented and very much appreciated in the last ministerial meeting of Mediterranean Union in Barcelona last 10 of October. And many of the ministers were absolutely impressed by the figures, the fact, and the perspective they presented, but I will leave to her. So now, before giving the floor to the Commissioner Sinkevičius, I ask Peter Schmidt, as President of Sustainable Development Observatory, to say just a few words to further complete or amend what I have already said in my introduction. Peter, 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you, President. Please use your headphones. I switch into my mother tongue. Ja, vielen Dank, Präsident. Vielen Dank dafür, dass wir die Möglichkeit haben, hier diese Debatte zu führen. Wenn mich vor 2 Jahren, als ich die Position des Vorsitzenden der Ständigen Beobachtungsstelle für nachhaltige Entwicklung übernommen habe, wenn mir vor 2 Jahren jemand gesagt hätte, du sitzt in 2 Jahren zusammen mit einem Commissioner am Tisch und darfst einen Green Deal kommentieren, hätte ich gesagt, wovon träumst du? Heute sitzen wir hier und diskutieren mit der Kommission einen Green Deal. Und das ist erst einmal eine ausgesprochen positive Nachricht, dass die Kommission dieses Thema in dieser Form mit aufgenommen hat. So, das ist das auch, was wir hier im Ausschuss entsprechend diskutieren. So, wir wären aber nicht die Zivilgesellschaft und ein Ausschuss, der nicht auch entsprechend kritische Punkte mit einbringt. So, und deswegen will ich ein paar Punkte mit aufbringen, die wir gerne mit Ihnen diskutieren, wo wir Sie einladen oder wo wir hoffen, dass Sie uns einladen, die Zivilgesellschaft an diesem Prozess zu beteiligen. So, das ist unser erster Punkt. Das heißt, wir als Zivilgesellschaft erwarten, dass Sie bei diesem neuen Denken der Kommission tatsächlich auch den EWSA in der Zukunft voll mit einbeziehen über diese Dinge, die Sie da neu aufbauen wollen. Das heißt für uns, wir brauchen nach wie vor eine übergeordnete Strategie in Europa. Die brauchen wir deshalb, weil wir nur dann erfolgreich sein werden mit einem Green Deal, wenn die Wirtschaft weiß, in welche Richtung dieser Green Deal geht. Das heißt, da muss Verlässlichkeit her. Und da haben wir an einigen Punkten eine ganze Menge miteinander schon gearbeitet. Als ich in Madrid war, hat jemand von der Kommission, und ich fand dieses Bild ganz gut, eine Begrifflichkeit aus der DG Klima gebracht in einem Podium. Sie sagte, we have to reboot the economy. Und das ist ein Punkt, den wir im Green Deal mit aufbauen müssen. Die entscheidende Frage ist, machen wir bei diesem Reboot dieser Economy, machen wir ein Update oder installieren wir tatsächlich eine neue Software? Das ist für uns die entscheidende Frage. Deswegen für uns ganz klar eine Overarching Strategy, eine Implementierung der Agenda 2030 der UN in diesem Prozess. Dafür haben wir bereits Vorschläge gemacht, wie das funktionieren kann. Zum Beispiel den Semesterprozess dafür zu benutzen, dass wir diese Implementierung in Europa hinbekommen. Und ganz wichtig für uns, auch das haben wir schon übermittelt, es muss ein Green and Social Deal sein. Wenn das kein sozialer Deal ist im gleichen Maße, werden die Menschen nicht mitmachen. Und dann werden wir auch nicht erfolgreich sein. So, um diesen Erfolg zu bekommen, noch einmal zum Schluss, binden Sie uns mit ein. Wir sind bereit dafür, wir haben viele Papiere dafür erarbeitet und wir werden auch dazu noch bereit sein, mit Ihnen das entsprechend zu entwickeln.
Thank you, Peter. So, Commissioner, you have also the impression of our permanent body on this issue is working since many years and the work we can deliver. The floor is yours to present your point of view and the point of view of the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, President Jahier, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. It's, of course, a great pleasure for me to be here. I'm very grateful for the invitation because I wanted to come here very early in this Commission mandate for a very simple reason. I think of this committee as a crucial ally. Today we are talking about the Green Deal, about the new climate measures and the Circular Economy Action Plan, and it's absolutely vital that these plans, ideas, don't stay in Brussels. They have to become a reality for people on the ground in each member state as soon as possible. And you have a central role in making that happen. So thank you for this invitation and thank you for interest today. The Sustainable Development Goals are always going to be priority for this Commission, as they are for the whole of Europe. This Commission is probably the first one that in each Commissioner's mission letter, SDGs are included. And we have Commissioner Pablo Gentiloni, who is responsible for overlooking that those SDGs would be actually implemented, not only included. Implemented not only by Commission, but also by Member States. And I think it's very clear that they are the fundamental backdrop to our work. We will always have them in mind, and they act as a kind of check on our progress. We will always be asking ourselves, how are we doing against those 17 targets? Today I'm here to talk about the main roadmap that we will be using on the path. The start was slightly delayed of the Commission, but when the Commission started work, we were immediately at a full speed presenting the European Green Deal very early in our mandate. It's our path not just to sustainability, but to a Europe we can be proud of in the world, the Europe which leads the green transition. A Europe in line with 2030 agenda and the Paris Agreement, the Europe that people really need and trust. There is no doubting that the need for change is here. The momentum, political momentum is there, and the Green Deal is a result of time those people took to go out on the streets and say out very loud what's needed to be done. The deal was adopted just a few days after the European Environment Agency published State of the Environment Report 2020. That report was a clear wake-up call. It told us that Europe's environment is at the tipping point, and that despite the significant progress of the past 2 decades, our efforts have been too little to reverse the negative trends. But for me, it also showed a very clear message that by decreasing carbon footprint, we still were able to remain our economic growth strategy and be prosperous. The Green Deal turns clearly those trends around. It's a new growth strategy with sustainability and social justice at its heart. That's really the key. It signals that it's time to rethink the whole approach. It won't be enough to change things at the edges, to camouflage them. We need deep and transformative change, and we need it as soon as possible. The deal sets out the agenda for that with a broad range of changes. The climate law will be central, but there are many other elements, and I will single out 3 in particular. The first one is the biodiversity strategy. What we want to see is ambitious and realistic commitments. Commitments like more nature protection and a plan to restore ecosystems to health. It will come with an enabling framework to spur transformative change and ensure that we integrate a concern of ecosystems and all they deliver across all economic activities around the EU. We want a biodiversity to lead a turnaround in the way we think about nature. Let's call it a new Hippocratic oath for the 21st century. These are the principles that we will be taking to Nature COP15, the Conference of Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity in Kunming, China, in October this year. We need the world on board. We can't be on our own. And for that to happen, of course, we have to be credible. We have to lead by example. Second element I wanted to single out for you today is our zero pollution ambition for a non-toxic environment. The biodiversity strategy rethinks our relation to nature. This one rethinks our relation to the environment. We need to prevent pollution before it happens and remedy the pollution that it's already there. There will be 2 major components: a self-standing chemical strategy for sustainability to improve protection for our citizens and the environment, and to encourage innovation so we can develop alternatives that are safe and, of course, sustainable. And an action plan for air, water, and soil, setting out the steps we need to follow. My ambition is very clear. Why do we drink water from the plastic bottle? Let's do it from the tap, everywhere in Europe, in each member state. I said at the beginning there were 3 elements, and the third one will appear in March. It's the new Circular Economy Action Plan, to be presented together with the EU Industrial Strategy. The first plan, 5 years ago, was truly a huge success, with all 54 actions completed on time. Now we are raising the bar higher. We are building on that success with the drive to tackle circularity, to make it a mainstream. The timing of adoption together with the industrial strategy sends a very clear signal that this really is a business agenda as well. We need widespread transformation, and we needed the industries where the footprints are large to be on board. So the focus will be on sectors where the impact is very high. Sectors like textiles, construction, plastics, and electronics. The aim is to look at the whole life cycle of products At the top of the list is preventing waste generation, stopping it before it happens. And when it does happen, we'll look for ways to transform that waste into resource, which used to be exported to other countries. We're also planning a new framework for sustainable products. The Green Deal is all about transformative change, and for that to happen, green products have to become the norm at prices that people can afford. It has to become a part of life, so the framework will be very broad, addressing all products placed on the EU market, with a view to extending their lifetime, giving consumer a new right, a true right to repair, and reducing the impacts derived from manufacturing and, of course, use. Consumers are a vital part of the transformation, but they need better information. We want to help by tackling misleading green claims. People deserve honest information about the repairability and, of course, durability of products. And I want to be sure that they get it. Of course, we aren't just talking about consumers. The circular community is very broad. And I know that you helped us set up the stakeholders platform in 2017. 3 years later, it's still doing a terrific job, building a community of practice. And I'm very happy to confirm that we will definitely continue being a priority for both institutions. As I said at the beginning, I'm looking to you at the European Economic and Social Committee, because this new Commission is all about reaching the people. Green always goes with the blue. The IPCC special report on the ocean and the cryosphere is clear. Oceans are at the heart of the climate emergency. It's the first victim in line. Sea levels rise, temperature increases, migration of fish stocks, dying of coral reefs, destruction of fragile ecosystem, and of course, the first to suffer are our fishermen and women communities. They are the ones on the top of this emergency. Nevertheless, oceans are also a part of a solution. As a part of the European Green Deal, oceans will co-write this success story with all the capacity. Take renewable energy, for instance. Already by 2030, renewables should provide at least 32% of the EU overall energy consumption. Marine renewable energy has an incredible potential. The offshore wind sector is growing strongly enough to compete with traditional energy sources. The emerging technologies, such as wave and tidal energy, will take the same pathway. Blue bioeconomy brings us many opportunities. For example, algae are the ocean gold. It can bring high nutritional value at a lower environmental impact, processed as biofuels or bioplastics. They turn their petrochemical alternative obsolete. The marine food sector can contribute to a net zero economy. Fish from aquaculture has, in general, a much lower carbon footprint than animal proteins from land resources. I find hope in fisheries and our fishing communities. Thanks to the efforts made by them, we already see that sustainable fishing pays off. Sustainability in fisheries serves both our planet and our fishing communities, who deserve a chance to reap real economic benefits at the lowest carbon footprint. Many success stories show us that stocks that have been overfished can recover, thanks to the ambitious actions taken. The latest efforts will have an impact already in the following year. In December, we agreed on a number of substantial increases for more than 25 valuable fish stocks. The more sustainable we are, the more prosperous European fishermen and women will be, the better planet we'll leave for the future. Let me conclude. Ladies and gentlemen, you have made a great contribution to shaping the circular economy agenda, and we are counting on your commitment to help delivering the Green Deal. President von der Leyen called it our man on the moon moment, and it's time to think in those terms. The Green Deal has potential to unify Europe in a common drive towards a different sort of society. We aren't going to the moon. We're staying here on Earth. But we need to treat the Earth in a radically different manner, with genuine transformative change. The deal can deliver, provided we sell the dream. And for that to happen, we also need all of you. I'm sure together we can deliver. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for the vision, the strategy, and also the engagement. And now I'm more than happy to give the floor to the three panelists. I will ask them, we're supposed to stay strict to the 7 minutes because we are a little late. And Mr. Sarmad, Deputy Executive Secretary of the United Nations. So you will come to give the vision more large and more complex of this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's a great.
No, it's not you. It's been cut by.
Okay. Again, thank you very much, Mr. President, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here representing the UN Climate Change Secretariat, Mr. Commissioner, Secretary General, other members of the panel. Again, I feel we're the UN, representing the UN, we are among friends, and it's an extremely important constituency that you represent here, addressing one of the greatest challenges that we are facing, the world is facing, the existential crisis in the manner in which it is presenting us, the climate change all around. I'll be very brief, and I share some perspective. It was a great pleasure to see President at the COP in Madrid just last year, and we're just coming out of it, reflecting on the outcomes of that conference and looking ahead to the future. 2020 is extremely important, as has been said by many of the speakers before. This year is extremely important in many ways, not just because of the European Union Green Deal and the commitments that, the ambition, the enthusiasm that I've just seen and heard. We are with you, Commission, and the European Union as a whole to work with you on every step of the way. But let me share a few perspectives. This is the year 2020, which comes 5 years after the adoption of the Paris Agreement. This is the year also when nations must submit new or ambitious revised climate action plans. And it's in that context also the European Green Deal has been received. And it is a start, but the implementation will be a huge challenge. In the context of climate change, and a lot has been said, and you can see in the news, we have, we believe in the UN, reached a tipping point with respect to the climate change in that time, in the time period that we are experiencing. So it is extremely important that we remain as robust, as ambitious as possible, certainly more than they are currently now. Currently, we are on the track, unfortunately, to more than double our climate goal of stabilizing global temperatures to 1.5 degrees, that is the target of the Paris Agreement. Instead, we must work very urgently at an unprecedented level. I like the analogy used by one of the speakers just now. It is no more time for just updating a software. It's really to reset the way we think, the way we act, the way we approach this crisis. So therefore, 2020 must be the year that we collectively show through our concrete action that we are truly committed to moving towards a positive tipping point. 2020 must also be a year where we begin to fulfill the promise of the Paris Agreement. There was a sense at that time in 2015 that the positive energy coming out of Paris had finally set the world in the right track. It was a multilateral success story and adopted with unprecedented speed. It was also a time of great optimism that many countries were on board. There was a clear sense of momentum, and while we were not naive enough to think our climate problems were over, we felt a great sense that nothing could slow us down. 5 years later, the world has changed. Politics have changed. Leadership has changed. Some have expressed less support for multilateralism, just when we need it most. Climate change, of course, could care less about global politics. In those 5 years since Paris Agreement, climate change has morphed from a serious challenge to a full-blown emergency, one affecting almost every part of the world. Hurricanes, wildfires, flooding, and the amount of money that is being lost to the economy all around the world is just absolutely unimaginable. Not coincidentally, planet Earth registered its second hottest year on record in 2019, capping off a 5-year period. In just over 1 year, we have had 3 specialized intergovernmental IPCC reports. These were mentioned just now. And all of those point us, the scientists point us to a direction that we must all adopt. Climate change is not slowing us down. We are not acting with enough urgency. Unfortunately, as the President knows, at COP25 in Madrid, the outcomes were less than desirable, which puts a lot more pressure for this year and the COP in Glasgow in less than 10 months, COP26. And we must complete all the outstanding work that has been left behind. And it won't be easy, but it's absolutely necessary. But we have reasons to be very optimistic, as we just heard from the Commission. Let's also look at some of the actions that have come out in the last 2 weeks. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with more than 6.8 trillion under its control, announced it has joined Climate Action 100+. Ship Owner Association, representing more than 90% of the global merchant fleet, recently announced that they will create a $5 billion research fund. Microsoft set a new ambition among Fortune 500 companies. We also recently heard that clean energy investments in the United States surged to a record fresh of $55 billion a year. And with respect to national climate action, we also see some positive momentum. 114 countries have already announced enhanced NDCs, and 121 have committed to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. And Europe's lead is extremely important because other countries, other regions are watching. But we still have a long way to go, and there is movement. The important lesson we have learned during this time is that leadership matters. The EU Green Deal is precisely that. And you have our support, the support of the people particularly, who are desperate for the change. They want leadership, and we see that in the street, on the social media, and in many other fora all around the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize then that what we need going forward in 2020 is not only political decision matched by reality of climate change, but real action at the ground level. We have the vehicle to help us move forward, and that is the Paris Agreement. Contrary to what some say, it is already in operation and functioning well. We must complete the important work still required under it. We must, through full implementation in 2020 and beyond, truly unleash its potential. And we have all the means and all the political will, I believe, to do it. It just requires that additional action and ambition. The EU is leading by example, and we urge you to continue working with other nations to stress the dire situation the world faces and to facilitate the resolution of roadblocks that still remains in the process. At the heart of this, let me emphasize this, is the protection of an idea as well, one that is at the heart of the European Union and the United Nations. And that's the idea of the importance of multilateralism. It works. We know it works. It has been proven to work, and with respect to climate change and the achievement of 2030 agenda, it is truly the only way forward. We have no more time to waste and lose. It's time to listen to our people, act on our conscience, and to back this up with a significant and lasting climate action in 2020. And we stand ready to work with all of you. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. And up to you. If you can stay in the 7 minutes, I will be more than grateful.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here in this new year after the big start of the new Commission. Those who know me know that after contributing to the development of the 2030 agenda, I had the opportunity to advise the former Commission, and I was put aside. Not me, the 2030 agenda. I remember the discussions, also in the Juncker's Commission. Of course, the Commission had signed the 2030 agenda, but then that was not at the heart of the strategy. So I'm so happy that the new Commission is now in a completely different mode. And I think that this important committee, the economic and social forces, have played a very important role. I remember how many documents CHES has published on this. So we should be happy. Is it now everything on track? Of course not. 3,627 is the number of days that we have available to meet the SDGs. 3,627. Yesterday, the UN has launched the Decade of Action. This is exactly the time that we still have to rescue the world. I start from here because I would recommend the Commissioner to put this counter everywhere, in all institutions, because if you want to be serious, this is something that has to be counted every single day. The Commission in the past has put on its building another type of counter. So this is just to say that we have to remind ourselves that the time is very, very short, and it's very unlikely that we and the world will meet those goals unless we have an incredible increase of the pace of change. SDGs must be everywhere, in buildings, in meeting rooms, in vacancies, as we did at the OECD when we decided to change even the motto of the organization from "for a better world economy" to "better policies for better lives." Even the vacancies for new recruitments say the OECD is committed to improve the well-being of people. It must be in documents. The Green Deal document has 5 lines which quote, of course, the contribution to the SDGs. And then there isn't any single reference to the SDGs. I think that this doesn't really communicate the linkages between the political willingness and the practical developments. My recommendation is that in each and every document that the Commission, the Council, the Parliament will be preparing and discussing, a sort of even qualitative impact on SDGs, on each SDGs, on each target, should be explicitly should be made clear. Learn from what companies and governments who have committed themselves to this are doing. For example, the Spanish government has the symbol of the SDGs as a backdrop in the press conference hall of the Prime Minister and the government. So what I'm trying to say here is that if we are really committed to this, we must, let's say, live up our not only political ambitions, the Commission has already done that, but also the communication. The social dimension is very important, has been said, but social partners who are here have a very important role to play. 3 points, and I will go quickly to the end. First, the semester. The European semester is the key instrument to take all policies together, develop the policy coherence that everybody is talking about in the world, and so it must be really transformed, and it's not easy, into the arm through which all policies are directed to SDGs and 2030 Agenda. In the publication Sustainable Equality, with a group of experts, this report to the parliamentarian group of the Socialists and Democrats, we tried to develop what the European semester for 2030 Agenda could look like. It's about data, it's about modeling, it's about governance, it's about a complex, very complex set of issues. What I hope is that the new semester will not be just a small adjustment to the current one, just putting, for example, environmental indicators into the scoreboard, and then say, okay, that's done, because moving policies towards sustainable development is much more than just discussing indicators. My recommendation to the Commission, to all institutions, is to take your time. Don't rush. Use the 2020 as a year to discuss with social partners, governments, institutions on how this could look like. There are already interesting developments in the communication on the European semester, actually on the sustainable growth strategy. Please, sustainable development strategy. Words are important. Growth is important, of course, but the headlines should be on sustainable development. Take your time, and then in 2021, let's make the changes after discussing them. A concrete proposal to SES and others. We organize as ASviS the Italian Festival of Sustainable Development. All over Italy, more than 1,000 events in 17 days. At the beginning of June, there will be the European Sustainable Development Week, that so far has been just a combination of proposals coming from the bottom. I would recommend SES to take leadership, to mobilize all our countries to make that week a fundamental week in the public discussion. By the way, Italy will bring our festival in all countries. All embassies have been invited to organize events. So this could be a very important signal to mobilize the entire civil society to support the Commission and their institutions to make the 2030 Agenda really the core of future policies in Europe. Thank you very much.
Grazie mille, caro Professor Giovannini. And now, last but not least, Mrs. Cherif Semia, to present this concrete case of Mediterranean, where it's not only a region of Europe, but is a region that includes also another part of international crucial relation. Please.
Yes, thank you. So good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Luca Jahier and the European Economic and Social Committee for the invitation. I'm a member of MedECC, that is a network of experts working on the first scientific assessment report about climate and environmental changes in the Mediterranean. This report will be released very soon, and I hope you will be interested about it. I'm pleased today to speak first about some environmental problems and climate change. As everybody knows, we are surrounded by pollution, and nowadays everything around us is potentially harmful, whether you live in a city or in the countryside. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, everything everywhere is contaminated. Even if you climb the very high mountain of 5,000 or 6,000 meters like Mont Blanc or even Himalaya, you will still breathe toxic pesticides. And it is the same if you go to Arctic or Antarctic. There are tens of thousands of pollutants around us, perhaps more. They are now so many that they are just uncountable. I choose to talk about one category of them that is classified among the emerging pollutants. Emerging pollutants are existing pollutants, but they were not considered as such and not monitored in the environment. Among the emerging pollutants, there are nanoparticles that are very, very small particles of about 0.00001 millimeter. So we breathe them, we eat them, and they end up in the blood, then reach organs of the body. Where do these particles come from? They are part of all electronic small devices inserted in paint, cosmetics like salad cream, toothpaste, and even food for modifying its color, smell, taste, fluidity, or texture. So we are eating these very small particles that are going to our lungs, to our heart, to our brain, and would cause dysfunction and even malformation of fetus brain. This is only one small example of risks generated by only one type of pollutants. It would take years to detail the effects of all known pollutants. And let me answer to Mr. Sinkevičius that said, why are we drinking bottled waters? In tap waters, we have more than I don't know, many hundreds of toxic molecules. So why are we in this situation today? In my opinion, this is happening because the effects of these chemical compounds are not immediately visible. They accumulate in the body and in the environment, and their effects are insidious, slow, and are visible only after a certain period of time. If the impact was violent, immediate, I trust that everything will be set up very quickly to prohibit these compounds. But now we know, now you know, and the action is not only to prohibit anymore. The action needs to be sustainable with a long-term vision and approach, a global, economically effective strategy that goes deep back in the mechanism of development. So, slow environmental changes. This is probably what explains also the late climate change awareness. As the temperature rises slowly, as the sea level is rising slowly, as the effects do not strike suddenly, the awareness was delayed and the denial was easy. But even for climate change, now we know. And now we are seeing unusual phenomena, like the increase in floods and droughts. The evidence is here. The temperature has risen. In the Mediterranean, there is already 1.5 degrees higher than at the beginning of the industrial age. If nothing changes, it is expected a 5-degree increase before the end of the century, and more as time goes by. And a contaminant sea level rise is expected of about 1 meter from now to 2050. It's 30 years from now. It's not very much. The coastal lines will be totally modified, and the fragile coastal area will be submerged. Venice, the Gulf of Gabes, the Gulf of Corinth are expected to suffer badly from the sea level rise. The Mediterranean region was already the hotspot of water scarcity, and now it is also a hotspot of climate change. And water scarcity is highly worsened by climate change. The concentration of heavy rainfall in small period of time due to climate change make natural water resources like aquifers and rivers difficult to recharge. A 5 degrees rise in temperature is not something to ignore. The temperature rise is already affecting agriculture with the reduction of plant yields and unusual bad quality of agricultural products. Even fishes in the sea will shrink in size by up to 50%, so a half smaller. So here we need changes in urban new plans and protection, but also in water collection infrastructure, agricultural management, and in food control. A change in the development mindset and approach. Here I'm talking about survival, about water not available anymore at all, and food scarcity. We all should be aware that these temperatures are completely unusual and unprecedented. The last time the Earth has seen these temperatures was during the last interglacial period, more than 100,000 years ago. It is therefore a challenge that is expecting us. Scientific, environmental challenge, but also economic, social, political, human challenge. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. And if I can add one just comment, now our presentation was quite short, but in Barcelona we were all impressed by the maps of what happens in the Mediterranean. So that's described in a region is crucial. What will change, and the issue is only the rapidity of change, what we can anticipate not to pay too much the price. So thank you all. We are in very high raptor of time, so we have 45 minutes for our debate. Now we have several members that will take the floor for 21 minutes. I will ask all of you to stay very strict to the time that has been distributed in the group. So first is Mindaugas Maciulevičius from Lithuania, Group 3, 1 minute.
Labai malonu matyti. I'll switch back to English. The most important action that we have to play, all of us, so non-state climate action is the key if we're serious about tackling all the climate emissions. Because think about that. The corporations that you have mentioned, it's not enough. SMEs, communities, different cooperatives, farmers, forest owners, we have a role to play. So let's think together how we'll create the enabling environment, access to finance, different means how we can help. And if you have 1,000 farmers active in that, it will be same level as one big corporation. So let's put emphasis on that. This house is the key and will support and is already supporting you. We wrote so many opinions and we encourage you, let's all play the role in this game. Let's change our economy, as Peter Schmidt says, and there is opportunities, economical growth. There is so much opportunities available. Let's prosper together, and blue bioeconomy you have mentioned. Baltic Sea also has a call. Thank you.
So much, Mindaugas. Now is Antonello Pezzini from Group 1 for 3 minutes.
Grazie Presidente, grazie anche agli oratori per quanto ci hanno detto. Il problema di fondo, e cercherò di dare alcune illustrazioni, alcuni pensieri, è quello di ingegnerizzare questi valori che tutti noi sosteniamo e calarli in una realtà concreta. Parto dalla globalizzazione. La globalizzazione ha creato, lo sappiamo tutti, molti vantaggi e molti svantaggi. Se io devo fare oggi un preventivo per un tessuto tecnico, e parlo della mia azienda, non di altre, io faccio 3 preventivi e dico ai miei clienti se vogliono un preventivo fatto con un indumento che faccio fare in Cina, con tessuto tecnico, che lo faccio fare in uno dei paesi europei che non sia l'Italia, o un preventivo che faccio in Italia. Sono 3 costi finali differenti ed è evidente che in questo caso c'è una conformità al prodotto che è in tessuto tecnico, ma non una conformità all'ambiente. L'Europa deve fare una tassonomia, fare un rating, se lo volete in termine inglese, tassonomia è dal greco e dal latino, per valutare la quantità di CO2 nei vari tessuti. Dopodiché mettere un dazio alle frontiere. Il giorno in cui attraverso la tassonomia mi mette un dazio alle frontiere in questa turris eburnea che è l'Europa, in cui mi dà un certo valore per avere un prodotto importato dalla Cina a un prezzo maggiore, noi salviamo l'occupazione in Italia, in Europa, nelle nazioni virtuali, riusciamo ad avere prodotti che vanno bene alla società. Secondo, EMAS, cioè noi vogliamo raggiungere l'obiettivo, certifichiamo EMAS alle nostre aziende, ma non tutte le regioni, non tutte le nazioni ti danno un contributo. La mia azienda è certificata EMAS dal 2003, ma ho speso circa 60.000 euro per certificarla e ogni 2 anni devo spendere 15-20.000 euro per avere l'aggiornamento. Sono spese che gravano sulle aziende che non hanno le aziende non certificate, che possono fare costi più bassi. Quindi arriviamo anche a una tassazione differenziata e quindi che sia sensibile al discorso dell'ambiente e non solo ad altri fattori. Gli aiuti di Stato, noi abbiamo certe le regioni che hanno il carbone, come l'Iglesiente in Sardegna, bisogna rivedere il combustibile e sostituirlo, ma non è possibile intervenire se non attraverso una revisione degli aiuti di Stato e anche questo è molto importante. Quindi l'edilizia, il 10% della popolazione europea soffre il freddo, 50 milioni di persone, ci dice la Commissione. In Italia su 8.000 comuni il 10% sono in rischio di default. Interveniamo per dare maggiori sfinanze a questi comuni e diamo riscaldamento ai poveri, tassando chi ha più ricchezza. Vorrei dire altre cose ma non ho il tempo. Concludo con una frase che ha detto Peter Schmidt nell'introduzione. Dobbiamo avere un'attenzione forte al sociale. Se noi non riusciamo a dare ai cittadini la sensazione che hanno i soldi per far quadrare i conti, che hanno il riscaldamento nella loro casa e che hanno il posto di lavoro, noi possiamo parlare di sviluppo sostenibile, ma vedremo l'Europa come matrigna che non ci dà la sicurezza. Grazie.
Grazie Antonello. Lucy Studnicza, Czech Republic, Group 2, but also the President of our Commission.
Děkuji, pane předsedo, budu mluvit česky. Chci poděkovat za zorganizování této diskuze tady na našem plenárním zasedání tak rychle po publikaci té zelené dohody. Myslím si, že to je zásadní a diskuze tohoto tématu bude ovlivňovat naši práci i naši budoucnost v Evropě po příští období. Ta iniciativa je samozřejmě nutná, to si všichni uvědomujeme, pokud chceme zachovat budoucnost naší planety. A je stejně tak jasné, že Evropa musí v tomto procesu být v popředí, protože k tomu má jedny z nejlepších podmínek. A ta změna, přiznejme si a uvědomme si, bude skutečně převratná. Nutné je brát také tuto změnu v kombinaci s dalšími aspekty, a to s aspekty demografickými, s aspekty technologických změn, nových ekonomických modelů, nových forem práce. A to vše znamená, že v tuto chvíli mohou mít obyvatelé Evropy nebo jejich částí, regionů, některých států poměrně velké obavy z budoucnosti. Jaká ta budoucnost bude, zda budou mít pracovní místa, zda budou schopni se uživit. Je naprosto nutné, aby evropští občané tyto změny chápali, aby jim rozuměli a aby v tyto změny měli důvěru. A že tyto změny přinesou lepší budoucnost a budoucnost pro Evropu. Je také zřetelné, že cíle musí být jasné a jak už tady bylo řečeno mými předřečníky, sociální dimenze je naprosto klíčová a musí být v jasné rovnováze a ty sociální aspekty jsou v některé chvíli, možná v těch úvodních fázích, ještě důležitější. Je jasné, že dopady budou nerovnoměrné na jednotlivé regiony, skupiny zaměstnanců, na některé státy. Jsou regiony nebo státy, které se potýkají s více hrozbami. Jsou to zejména uhelné regiony, regiony s těžkým průmyslem, s určitou strukturou průmyslu, která všemi těmi faktory, které na ně dopadají, se ocitají v ohrožení. Ústí to v emigraci mladých lidí, vylidňování některých regionů a celkově může vznikat obava, že implementace té zelené dohody, rozdíly, které v Evropě máme, mohou ještě prohloubit. Chci tedy velmi bojovat za velmi holistický přístup, který všechny ty aspekty zohlední a všechny situace bude brát v úvahu. Věřím tomu, že zelená dohoda, která zmiňuje to, že lidé musí být na prvním místě, toto veme skutečně vážně a že zapojí všechny stakeholdery do tohoto procesu, přinese skutečně evropskou průmyslovou politiku, bude mít dostatek financí na to, aby tento proces bylo možné financovat a implementovat, ale jenom peníze nestačí. A naprosto klíčová bude velmi dobrá komunikace, a to ve všech fázích tohoto procesu, aby bylo možné chápání, důvěru a víru v tento proces rozšířit mezi všemi občany. Děkuji.
Dziękuję. Now is Mrs. Bajba Miltovica from Latvia for Group 3. 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear Commissioner, dear guests, thank you for being here with us today. The urgent need to decarbonize our economies will also address climate change issues and also bring further challenges. And the group of challenges will indeed, as my colleagues already indicated, will be a social dimension of this aspect. Green Deal is an ambitious plan, and in terms of the resources involved and the effects of consumer habits and production structures in Europe, are enormous. And if you think about polluting aspect, then industry pollutes, agriculture pollutes, transport pollutes, cities pollute. So we need to think about achieving the balance in between industry, social, and environmental aspects. So I again remind about keeping in mind the social aspects. Thank you very much.
From Spain, Group 1, 4 minutes.
Y a todos los que habéis intervenido. Y en primer lugar me gustaría también daros las gracias por las referencias que habéis hecho a la organización de la COP25 en Madrid. Claro, fue rápido, fue inusual y la verdad, y quiero recalcarlo, la sociedad civil, sindicatos, empresas, organizaciones no gubernamentales se han volcado y lo que es la logística funcionó bien, evidentemente, pero queríamos todos ser más ambiciosos. Hecha esta introducción, remarcar que la ambición debe llevar aparejada un liderazgo. Y ese liderazgo, nos guste o no nos guste, señor comisario, es un rol que debe jugar las instituciones europeas, la sociedad europea. Estamos en un momento crítico, todos lo habéis dicho, pero lo dicen básicamente los científicos y la cruda realidad. Y no es tiempo de arrastrar los pies ni de buscar aplazamientos imposibles. Lo tenemos clarísimo. Esa urgencia debe manifestarse y ese liderazgo, comisario, usted mismo, en el momento de cambio, el vicepresidente Timmermans, se ha ejercido, pero hay que seguir ejerciéndolo de una forma muy potente y muy dinámica. La urgencia, y no quería yo referirme a esto, pero la realidad me lleva a ello, es que durante los últimos 3 días hemos vivido un temporal de levante en el Mediterráneo. Me sabe mal que Madame Cherif no lo haya mencionado. Ha desaparecido el delta del Ebro. 5.000 hectáreas de cultivo. 5.000 hectáreas de cultivo han sufrido una subida del nivel del mar superior a 1,5 metros. 5.000 campos de fútbol, para quien se haga una idea, mucho más que el área de Venecia. Y realmente el mar Mediterráneo se lo ha comido, literalmente, y va a ser muy difícil esa restauración. Bueno, son cuestiones con las que vamos a tener que convivir, como habrá que convivir, aunque los negacionistas no lo crean, con los incendios de Australia y la desertificación. Nosotros, los representantes de los empresarios, hemos optado por la cooperación público-privada y por el liderazgo en este ámbito. En el plástico de un solo uso o en la retirada de las anillas que juntan los envases, por poner un ejemplo, el Haicon, vamos a ser absolutamente estrictos y vamos a ir por delante de la legislación. ¿Qué necesitamos? Tecnología y diálogo. Eso va a estar siempre presente en nuestras prioridades. Y con ello puede contar, señor comisario. Por tanto, lejos de la retórica, lo que hay que anticipar ya son los hechos y ahí, como sector industrial, vamos a estar absolutamente inmersos. Es cierto, alguien de ustedes lo ha dicho, señor Sarmad, iniciativas como las de BlackRock o de tantas y tantas empresas o grupos de inversión, apostando fuerte por una realidad de una economía verde, van a ser cada vez más evidentes. ¿Por qué? Porque nosotros creemos que el daño reputacional peor que se puede hacer a las grandes compañías o a las compañías industriales es el destrozar el planeta, destrozar la vida, destrozar las necesidades de los ciudadanos, que al fin y al cabo son también los consumidores, son los accionistas y son los que hacen vivir esas empresas. Por tanto, no vean ustedes al Grupo 1, no vean ustedes a las empresas como alguien que arrastra los pies. Nosotros queremos jugar ese liderazgo y queremos hacerlo en el marco de la Unión Europea. Contamos para ello con las instituciones y en este comité, lo sabe el presidente, vamos a jugar ese rol y ese papel activo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Joseph. Now we'll go to Dimitru Fornea from Romania, Group 2, for 2 minutes.
Vă mulțumesc, domnule președinte. Stimate domnule comisar, stimați invitați, Vă mulțumim pentru că participați astăzi la această dezbatere în care ne propunem să analizăm principalele provocări privind implementarea politicilor de mediu și climatice ale Uniunii Europene. Organizațiile sindicale consideră că o problemă esențială în guvernarea tranziției energetice este identificarea și colectarea resurselor financiare necesare asigurării investițiilor în noile tehnologii nepoluante, dar și pentru ca tranziția justă promisă să nu fie doar o vorbă goală. Implicarea societății civile organizate în elaborarea planurilor naționale energie-climă, așa cum a propus-o de altfel și Comisia Europeană, ar fi putut asigura un cadru transparent pentru stabilirea priorităților de finanțare din fondurile constituite pe baza taxelor de mediu sau a taxelor pentru emisiile de carbon. Din păcate, acest exercițiu a fost ratat în multe state membre, iar cetățenii încă au multe întrebări cu privire la modul în care sunt utilizate fondurile destinate protecției mediului și adaptării la schimbările climatice. Se vorbește foarte mult de necesitatea asigurării unor oportunități de formare profesională pentru recalificarea lucrătorilor din regiunile sau sectoarele în tranziție energetică sau tehnologică. La nivel european, mediul politic a îmbrățișat cu entuziasm teme de tipul viitorul muncii, tranziția justă, justiția climatică și acum vine cu o nouă propunere pe care și organizațiile sindicale au salutat-o, Pactul Ecologic European. Cu toate acestea, organizațiile sindicale din regiunile afectate de mutațiile industriale consideră că se acționează prea puțin pentru a se crea oportunități concrete de angajare a oamenilor care își pierd locurile de muncă și care devin astfel victime colaterale ale unor procese și decizii politice luate la mii de kilometri distanță de locul în care se produc efectele. În încheiere, consider că Pactul Ecologic European poate să reprezinte noul contract social care ne va conduce către o viață...
Dimitru.
Doar 2 secunde, vă rog. Bine, am încheiat.
Thank you. Lutz Riebe now from Germany, Group 3 for 2 minutes. He is covered by the camera. But,
Ja, vielen Dank. Was ich in den 21 Jahren, die ich hier in diesem Ausschuss bin, als Vertreter von Umweltverbänden nie vermisst habe, waren Appelle bezüglich Dringlichkeit, Versprechungen, Bekenntnisse. Es muss was getan werden. Was ich vermisst habe, waren Taten. Ich habe 2 Fragen. Eine Frage an Herrn Sarmad. Es stimmt doch, dass es ein Versprechen gibt in der Klimakonvention, die da heißt, wir, die UN oder die Staaten werden dafür sorgen, das ist Artikel 2 der Klimarahmenkonvention, dass die Treibhausgasemissionen in der Atmosphäre auf einem Niveau stabilisiert werden, auf dem negative Auswirkungen auf das Klima und auf die Auswirkungen vermieden werden. Dieses Versprechen ist gebrochen worden. Uns fliegen mittlerweile tatsächlich in der Tat die Häuser um die Ohren und entweder haben wir Dürren oder wir haben Überschwemmungen und das bei 1,2 Grad. Ich frage Sie, können Sie bei einem Versprechen von 1,5 Grad eigentlich noch gut schlafen? Das ist die eine Frage. Die zweite Frage an unseren Kommissar. Herr Kommissar, ich finde es sehr gut, was Sie gesagt haben. Es reicht nicht mehr, Kosmetik zu machen. Wir brauchen radikale Veränderungen und Sie werden uns auf Ihrer Seite haben. Konkret. Der Europäische Rechnungshof hat die Vorlage der Agrarreform, die momentan diskutiert wird, kommentiert und hat gesagt, sie wird den Bemühungen der EU um mehr Klimaschutz und Biodiversität nicht gerecht. Damals war Herr Wojciechowski polnisches Mitglied im Rechnungshof. Der ist jetzt Ihr Kollege als Agrarkommissar. Wie verteidigt er jetzt diese Vorschläge? Konkret, was bedeutet eigentlich der Green Deal für die Agrarpolitik? Muss da nicht wirklich konkret was endlich kommen? Und wenn der Rechnungshof schon sagt, es reicht nicht aus, dann frage ich mich tatsächlich, was kommt jetzt von Seiten der Kommission?
Vielen Dank, Herr Lutz. Now is Maria Nicolopoulou from Spain, Group 2.
Hola, muchas gracias, presidente. Gracias por vuestras aportaciones. También unas consideraciones en cuanto a la COP. yo soy un poco más bruta que los anteriores oradores, hemos fallado a la gente. Nos hemos puesto una vez más de acuerdo en que no estamos de acuerdo. Todos reconocemos la urgencia, teníamos muchas expectativas, la gente tenía muchas expectativas para esta COP de por fin pasar a la acción y nos hemos quedado una vez más en el debate. Estamos perdiendo muchísimo tiempo y no sé hasta cuándo podremos seguir con esos retrasos. Luego, una segunda consideración. ¿Por qué no se ha celebrado la COP en Chile? No mencionamos lo suficiente el hecho de que la inestabilidad que se produce por las revoltas sociales, por gente que está en la calle reclamando sus derechos, es igual de importante que el cambio climático, igual de importante, igual de urgente. Por eso que yo también reitero el llamamiento de los anteriores oradores y de Peter de que el Pacto Verde Europeo tiene que ser también social y bien alineado con el desarrollo sostenible. Una última consideración, aprovechando lo que mencionó el comisario sobre los nuevos productos sostenibles en precios asequibles, me he encontrado en diferentes foros que se plantea siempre una misma pregunta. Se nos pregunta a la gente, ¿estaréis dispuestos a pagar 20% más para un producto sostenible? Y echo mucho de menos otra pregunta que sería un poco al revés. ¿Estarían las empresas dispuestas a reducir un 20% sus ganancias para que no pasen el peso de la transición a la mayoría de la gente y así ayuden a la transición justa? Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Maria. Now it's Evangelia Kekeleki, Group 3, Greece. For 1 minute, please. Stay.
Ευχαριστώ, Πρόεδρε. Οι ενώσεις καταναλωτών και οι καταναλωτές υποδέχτηκαν με ιδιαίτερη χαρά την Πράσινη Συμφωνία. Όλοι γνωρίζουμε ότι αν οι καταναλωτές δεν γίνουν ενεργοί συμμέτοχοι σε αυτή την προσπάθεια, καμιά συμφωνία δεν πρόκειται να πετύχει. Όμως, η Πράσινη Συμφωνία δυστυχώς δεν περιλαμβάνει κανένα συγκεκριμένο σχεδιασμό για τα προβλήματα που πρόκειται να αντιμετωπίσουν οι καταναλωτές λόγω κλιματικής αλλαγής, ούτε δίνει κίνητρα, ούτε διαφυλάσσει την σωστή, την πραγματική πληροφόρηση προς τους καταναλωτές. Και εγώ θα βάλω τα ερωτήματα. Πώς μπορούμε να πείσουμε τους καταναλωτές να αλλάξουν διατροφικές συνήθειες, ώστε να μειώσουν το ανθρακικό τους αποτύπωμα, όταν οι τιμές των τροφίμων πετούν στα ουράνια. Πώς μπορούμε να τους πείσουμε να αγοράσουν ηλεκτρικό αυτοκίνητο, όταν δεν διαθέτουμε ανάλογες υποδομές φόρτισης και όταν έχουμε να αντιμετωπίσουμε πράσινους παραπλανητικούς ισχυρισμούς. Πώς οι καταναλωτές θα αναβαθμίσουν ενεργειακά τα σπίτια τους, όταν οι τιμές είναι απαγορευτικές. Πώς θα πάμε σε κυκλική οικονομία, όταν είναι πιο φτηνό να αγοράσω καινούριο ψυγείο παρά να το διορθώσω.
Evangelia, grazie.
Άρα χρειαζόμαστε συγκεκριμένες δράσεις, αν πράγματι θέλουμε να πετύχουμε.
Now, last but not least, Carlos Trias Pinto from Spain, Group 3, for 2 minutes.
Sí, buenos días, muchas gracias, presidente. Gracias por sus intervenciones. Me voy a referir al plan de inversiones en el contexto del European Green Deal, que va a movilizar 1 billón de euros. En primer lugar, taxonomía. Esa taxonomía que se está construyendo tiene que estar basada en indicadores de impacto fiables. Hay que mejorar el cálculo actual y también debe confluir con la taxonomía que está construyendo Naciones Unidas. 2. También hay que facilitar la confluencia entre fondos públicos y privados, romper muchas de las barreras administrativas actuales que impiden, por ejemplo, que haya donaciones fiscales entre Estados miembros. Voy a lo más importante, tal vez. La revisión en profundidad de la Directiva de Información no Financiera, algo previsto en el Plan de Acción del New Green Deal. Los indicadores deben ser fiables y tienen que estar alineados con una información completa, rigurosa por parte de las empresas. Tienen, además, que estar incorporadas las pymes, las pequeñas y medianas empresas, el corazón de nuestra economía. Pero, como hablaba el señor Pezzini, hay que facilitar esa labor de divulgación de información no financiera para las pequeñas y medianas empresas. Eso será clave para que realmente los flujos de inversión se reorienten realmente hacia las actividades sostenibles desde una triple perspectiva. También se ha dicho, no solo medioambiental, también social y de gobernanza. De esa manera, realmente vamos a hacer un trabajo efectivo para la ciudadanía y para la sostenibilidad. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Carlos. Thank you all, because we have been very close to the mandate to stay in your time. Now, we'll go for some reply from the speaker, and as usual, we leave the last word to the Commissioner. So we'll ask first Peter Schmidt for 1 minute, as he has already had his long time in the introduction. After, I will ask the other speaker to have 2 minutes each for a short reply, and the Commissioner 5 to 6 minutes to reply, because many questions were addressed, and of course we are here as an advisory body to the Commission, so we have to interact mainly with it. So Peter, 1 minute, please.
Thank you, President. Briefly, thanks a lot for the debate. Just to remind us what Madam Cherif said, so it's not only about climate, it's about the biodiversity, it's about food, it's much more the Green Deal. And that's why, very briefly, very short, it must be a green and social deal. Please, Mr. Commissioner, probably you can repeat it with us together, green and social deal.
Thank you, Peter. A message in the bottle, absolutely clear. So now we give the floor to Madame Semia Cherif from this panel of scientists.
Yes, of course, the solution is social, but not only. The solution is also scientific. The solution is also economic, because even if people is aware, even if people agree, if you don't give people the opportunity, I don't know, I can give an example. For example, if you give them 2 fridges, for example, following the example of the member, and you give him a fridge that is more sustainable and fridge is less sustainable, it is our role to do that the sustainable one is a little bit cheaper or at least the same price. So it's also an economical problem. So of course people have to agree, the social point is important, but everything has to be put on, not only one side. And this is the problem of all the environment. It is multi problem. It is a problem that has to be solved by many approaches. And this is the main point, because we are used to do as we do with medics. When we are ill, we just want the one medic to put us on our feet, but it's not possible, because we have to do sustainable things. We have to heal in a sustainable way. And this can only be done by a profound and very deep study and multi-approach. This is my point. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another very clear message. Professor Giovannini.
Thank you very much. 2 points I would like to make. The first one is about data that has been mentioned. The economic data are very timely. Environmental data now, thanks to the development of sensor satellites and so on, are more timely than in the past. Social data are still very late in the preparation of data, and therefore the risk is that in the European semester discussion, because of these different delays, the focus will be on economy and environment, less on society. Therefore, it's important that the Commission calls all the official statisticians, Eurostat and the others, to make a special effort. Looking at the list of SDGs, let me just give you an example. Europe doesn't have a measure of absolute poverty, which is number 1 in the SDGs. Because for the 2020 agenda, the political discussion led to a measurement of relative poverty. And this is not, I would say, a free lunch, how to do that. And there are many other areas where we need better data. But even if, and this is my second point, we had all the data about the past, this will not be enough to understand how distant we are from the targets. Therefore, we need models. Joint Research Center of the European Commission is very well equipped on this, but you need to have models that allow simulations of different policies through integrated models in order to have economic, social, environmental impact. And last point, where maybe CES can help, is that it would be important to fix targets at 2030, numerical targets, in order to calculate the distance to target, not only about the past, but also about what is missing. This is a political process, and I think the civil society, all the representatives here, could provide a very important input in this discussion.
Thank you so much, Professor Giovannini. Now we'll give the floor. We go to the United Nations. Mr. Sarmad, up to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's a great pleasure to again listen to many of the comments and observations. I'll be very brief. From my perspective, I'd like to refer everyone to the Paris Agreement that we all know. And within Paris Agreement, there is one article, Article 12, which requires all stakeholders, every one of us, not just the governments, but civil society, private sector, individuals, you and I, to take action at our different levels. And that is what is needed right now. And I think a lot has been said about the various actions. And my second point would be to change the narrative, moving from the doom and gloom and the catastrophe that we are focusing on. That is a given. But let's now move on to the actions that need to be taken, the targets, the measures that is all within our reach. And I think what we need is the civil society is an extremely important stakeholder in making that happen. We need to put all of that into concrete and measurable action and report back on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Now the floor is to the Commissioner. You will take the time that you need to give the answer, but also your last vision of this common engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your remarks. Probably from the very beginning, it's important to mention that Green Deal, it's about the people and society. And when it was introduced at the very beginning by President von der Leyen, she said very clearly, the Green Deal which leaves nobody behind. And the Just Transition Fund is an answer. Someone asked about the coal regions. Coal regions are the center of the Just Transition Fund, which was just adopted by the Commission, 7.5 billion to those member states who burn coal at the first place, then to those member states who use oil shale and etc. People are the center, and we cannot have any dreams of implementing any policy when it's not accepted by people. It was very well said about leading globally, and I think you can take this role. Of course, it's important that changes strategy, industrial strategy is a part of the Green Deal. It has the major aim. Our companies have to be competitive. They have to be competitive here within the domestic market, but also abroad. And when someone's worried about countries' leaders noting that climate change is not happening, we can only see the consequences, and that climate change respects no border. We had fires in Siberia, Australia, California, what's going on at the Mediterranean. You all know clearly that sooner or later everyone is going to be on board. And those companies which were mentioned here before, actually, if you noted, all of them are American companies. with a huge financing to be invested into something very clear, into a deal which clearly has a path how to implement it. Same goes with China. China today investing enormous amounts into renewable energy. And trust me, it's not because they believe in climate change more than us, it's because they want to sell it to us tomorrow. If we speak about funding, of course, it's not an easy task, and public money is not going to be enough to map it all. We're going to need a private money on board as well. EU is ready to devote 25% of EU budget for climate change. Then additional will come from EIB, but of course, private money is also important to be attracted. Now, a little bit more concrete on questions. CAP. Trialogue on the CAP is in the Parliament. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right, it's not going the way I will see it very soon in the biodiversity strategy. Biodiversity strategy will definitely have some of the parts mentioned. Secondly, of course, a huge part will be in the farm to fork, addressing, of course, pesticides use, eco-farming, and of course, support. I think we have to support very clearly practices which decreases the footprint, which decreases the loss of biodiversity. And I think this has to be a strong message from this House as well to the Parliament. I'm not sure about those numbers, and I want to call you all actually to be very careful. You are all very important here, and your messages, they go outside this room. And when someone says that 20% business will make less 20%, I'm not sure where this number comes from. Why would business make 20% less? And then when we talk about repair, right to repair, you're absolutely right. I'm not sure, fridge is not the case, but for example, this phone, it's glued. It has no chance to have something repaired, maybe hardly a screen. This is what we should reach. We should reach for a different one. And when someone is very skeptical about circular economy, I can only remind you of a great initiative of eco-design. Nobody believed. Everyone said, EU is crazy. They want to regulate light bulbs. In 7 years, since eco-design is introduced, it saved energy consumption equal to one annual consumption of electricity of Italy. Very simple thing, just providing more information for consumers on the fridge, on TV, how much is going to consume of electricity, and people, they make choices. They don't need us politicians to tell what to do. They see the information, which is correct, accurate. This is what we're seeking with the Circular Economy Action Plan, and they will make their choices themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you all for this lively debate. Thank you for the speakers of this panel, and thank you so much to you, dear Commissioner. You demonstrate to us, he was already aware because we met in Poland, this round table of your leadership, and you were very clear in the message you delivered to us this morning. And let me say one thing that, as also the colleagues Schmidt has told, this House has worked so long and for so many years, and you have also noticed in your introductory speech, for delivering suggestions, for pushing, and we are today more than happy, Commissioner, that in the plan of this new Commission, in the first action taken, many issues that in this House has been discussed, approved and pushed are today on board, from the semester, from this world strategy, for the circular economy platform, and many others. And of course, I have to say on this, without losing more time on detail, that you will have always this House close to you, sometimes also to push a little critics and suggestion, but to help, to develop, to implement, and to go far and beyond. I think, because we didn't have time to touch upon this, that what we are doing, this global leadership that you mentioned, Deputy Secretary General, is also the core of the strategy of Europe. And we cannot forget that if the first political action of the new Commission was the Green Deal, the second one has been the mission of the President von der Leyen plus the Commissioner European in Ethiopia, in Africa. giving a launch of another pillar. And from Africa, I just come back from a mission in Senegal. The issue of environment, sustainable development is the priority today in every country and could become another argument of an alliance also through the Mediterranean to change and shape the world. And I think here we have an agenda. Commissioner, will be close to you. Thank you again, and be sure that this House will be always open to you and to your colleagues when you will need. And in any case, we'll come very often also to not only to shake your hands, but also to say, here we are, we have ideas, where are you going, how can we help you? Thank you so much.
Thank you.